What's up, everybody? Tweets here. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a bolt action rifle. And in this way, we're going to do scripting for the animations and the recoils. And we're going to also show how to attach a custom suppressor made for the gun. So what you're going to do is, like every other thing, create your folder in your P drive, add your folders, import your models like before, like all my other weapon tutorial videos and other tutorials. Do your textures and your RV mats, just like anything else. Any sounds, which my weapons part 2 covers sounds and custom ammos and stuff like that. But this is going to be a more detailed on how to get the scripts and stuff, so that way you are using a rifle base class instead of the vanilla gun as a base class. So once you have all your textures and RV mats, you're going to get your model up. I've already started on this one here. This is an M24A3. So what you're going to do is, just like anything else, you create your proxy of a gun that you're going to want. In this case, I did a Winchester, since it is also a internal mag bolt action rifle, and I lined it up just like in my other videos, how I showed you guys, and sized it to get the alignment. And then you add your proxies and your selections. So in this case, bolt body is just the body of the bolt, and then bolt handle with the handle, and I got the bullet in here. And then got the trigger selection, and then your camo, ZB Tech or camo or whatever you want to call it. And then you apply your texture and RV mats like anything else with the E. Add your textures and RV mat. Then you got your proxies for optics. In this one, I did an ACOG and a hunting optic. That way you can attach multiple types. And then you set up your geometry, your memory, just like all the other ones. You can see on mine over here that there's the same type of memories as all the other guns. You just make sure you get the placement right. The only thing that I gotta do is adjust my UST I have, put it at the end of the barrel here, and make sure it's centered on the barrel. It's pretty damn close too. Make sure the other one's centered too. Conic have. Alright, those are where I wanted them. Now, you got your memory set. Once you have your memory set and your view geometry is good, your fire geometry is going to be a little more detailed than the ones I did before. So you're going to do multiple boxes and line them up. So you just got to create bots. When your box comes in, line it up to a part of the gun, like the stock, and then do another box, line it up to the body, another box, line it up to the barrel, so it forms around the gun. You want it to be formed around the gun. This bipod thing doesn't matter. You don't need it to be covered. Same with the side here. You just want a basic structure around, close enough around the gun. And then you want to add, once you have all those boxes, you're going to select them all. Make sure you have them all selected. Then go to structure, find components, and you'll see that you have multiple components. And that's for your fire geometry. The rest of your geometries will be the same as all the other ways. Now, once we did that, now we're going to start adding the custom suppressor. So, I'm not going to use that. Well, actually, I am going to use that model here. We're going to put this in the folder that I made. All right. Gonna open up our suppressor. So now, as you see, in the suppressor P3D, you're gonna, once you get your suppressor, you're gonna add your texture RV matte. Now what I do is I create a proxy of a vanilla suppressor. So I would go to DayZ, weapons, attachments, muzzle, and then pick like a 556 suppressor or 556 or some any suppressor. I like to go with the 556 one. Line it up with it. Make sure the end, which you'll be using your bulldozer. Mine takes a little bit to load. It's kind of a pain in the ass. So I'll just wait for it to load, and then I'll show you what I'm talking about. Come on. I really can't wait till I can upgrade my computer. There we go. It's about time. All right. Now, once you get your suppressor in, so as you just see, there's my suppressor. It looks a little shiny right now because I need to repath the RV matte. So I will quickly do that real quick because it's a model that I've used on other guns for other people. And I own the model. I bought it out. So I can use it on multiple things. You guys can use it all you want. I will be adding it to this folder along with everything that I've made. The models in this video were purchased by me, but you guys can feel free to use and do with as you would please, along with anything that's in my tutorial videos. If you want to re-upload them to your server mods or in public mods, do whatever you want with them. Okay, now that I got those repathed, now this will need a refresh, and then that'll look a lot better. And there we go. Now, there we go. I had to see it looks much better. Now this is the Legion suppressor. So what I do now is create your proxy for the suppressor that you're going to line up with. Like I said, I always like to use the 556 one. As you just see, what I did is I made sure it was lined up with the back end of that suppressor. The front, you could tell, has the small hole. And then I lined up and centered it with the back end of that suppressor. So that's exactly what you're going to want to do. And make sure your small hole is on the front too, and there's a bigger hole on the back. So that is how you line up your suppressor. Once you have that sized how you want it, and yes, it is bigger because this suppressor is bigger than that one. It just looks better that way. You don't want it to be the same size because then it'll look weird on big rifles and stuff like that. You want a good beefy suppressor. And that's the type, these Legion suppressors are meant to be like that. But once you have it lined up, you're gonna, and you got your texture and your RV mat, you'll duplicate it a few times. I did about 5. And then you're gonna add your geometry, which is just the bots like before. On this one, your properties are gonna be auto center 0. And then you're going to have in-view camera roll, negative 90. And that's going to be on your geometry LOD. And then you're going to have your memory, which you'll see we have the bound and bots, min, bound and bots mats, CE center, which is center of the model pretty much, CE radius, in view, you're going to want that center, and then at a little distance away from the model. And then throw in impulse position. You want that kind of center. And then USTI have. And you're going to want that at the end, the muzzle. Just like on a gun, you would have. But you don't need the Koenig have, you just need the USTI have. And then that's it for the suppressor. And then you got your view geometry and your fire geometry, which are the same component from your regular geometry, but no properties. And then your main LODs, you're going to have the properties of LOD no shadow in the value of 1, and then auto center value 0. You'll have this folder to work with anyways, because I'll be doing it in the file. But that's it for the suppressor. So once you have your suppressor model made, you can create your proxy for it. Get your suppressor model, and then pull up Bulldozer, rotate it, line it up, and get it on the end of your barrel. I hate loading Bulldozer, but only for me. It's slow. I mean, I just got a shitty PC, so one of these days. Alright, here we go. Now we got my gun, which before I do that, I gotta double check my RV mats. Because like I said, I'm using RV mats from other projects. So I gotta make sure I have them correct to this one. Just like that. If you don't have the correct paths, it'll be super shiny like it was in when I did the suppressor. So always make sure you have correct paths on everything. So now that we did that, now I gotta refresh this. Some guns, some models I have, I can't share with the community because they were commissioned. But this one here is one that I owned, so you guys are welcome to do whatever you want with it. Like I said before. Okay, now that we have all that fixed, I could get that suppressor lined up. So I'm going to move it, rotate it. We want that nice and flat. And then we're going to stick it on the end of the barrel. Kind of center it as you use your left here, which is zoomed into the center of the barrel. All right. Now we keep checking it in bulldozer till we get it in our position. Getting close. You want it nice and centered. So now we can zoom in a little bit to get a better control over it. Suppressors are a little weird. They're not going to be exactly centered on the side, centered on the model in order to be centered on the gun. That looks pretty well centered, and I like the placement of that. So that's what we're going to do. All right. Now that we have that in place, we can check the gun out. So that's looking good. Yep. I like this placement of it. Yeah, so that'll work. So we have our suppressor on there now. Now that we have that, and you've gone through, and I've talked about the geometries and everything, once you have all that set, you're going to take... Now, this is a step that I forgot to mention in my last weapons tutorials videos, which was stupid on my part. It's important. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your proxies, mainly your optics and suppressors and any magazines. If you have a weapons light, you're going to want that too. You're going to take your proxies, you're going to copy them, you're going to paste them in your fire geometry LOD. And then that's it. You're going to leave them like that. So you want to make sure that's in there. If you don't have them in there, you're going to come into an issue when sometimes when you aim down your sights or something and you have an optic on there, it's going to look weird. It's not going to go the way it's supposed to. It's going to like look down on the ground or something like that. It's going to look really weird. When you reload the gun, you'll see the suppressor will look bugged out and stuff. You want to make sure you have that in your fire geometry as well. Once you have all that set up, you got your geometry set up, your memory set up, you got your textures applied, you got all your proxies set up. Then you just duplicate it a few times. And then you're going to one of those, a view pilot, just like that. So that's pretty much what you're going to want. Once this is all done, you just save it. And then that's the gun and the suppressor all done. Your model config, I just took this from a model config of a Winchester, the vanilla Winchester. I got my model name. I've had other people have issues, and it was a lot of the reasons was because they didn't match the P3D name with the class names and skeleton names. You got to make sure they're the exact same name as your P3D. It is very important, or else it will not work. And you got to make sure you have your selections in there, just like on the P3D. Once you have that done, you start configuring the fun part. With this config, I went and just got the config for the Winchester under DayZ, weapons, firearms, Winchester. I took that config and then I just changed the class name, keeping bolt action rifle inner magazine base as your base class. You don't want to put Winchester 70 or whatever. Just keep it as that. And then you just change your class names, do your display description, do your model path, and attachments. Now it's got the weapon hunting, weapons optics huntings, weapons optics because I added hunting and ACOG. And then I made a slot, which I'm going to show you, for the suppressor. So for that, it's in the suppressors folder of this file. I took this suppressor, and it's based after the M4 suppressor with the display and the description. And then I just added the RV mat paths to our new RV mats that we'd made. The only thing I forgot to add is scope. So we're going to copy it. Make sure you change 0. Make sure it's scope 2 or else it will not show up in game. Now, on the suppressor inventory slot, make sure you give it a name of your custom slot. So in this case, I'm calling it M24A3 suppressor. Get your model pass, your RV mats, hit points, whatever. All this is from the vanilla config for the 556 suppressor, the M4 suppressor. Now, at the bottom, this is new. All right, this is not in the vanilla one. So what you're going to need is CFG slots. And then the class is going to be slot underscore and then the name of your slot. So you want it to be the same as your inventory slot, along with the name needs to be the same. This, just call it whatever you want to call it. It's the display name. I just put that. Then your proxy attachment, and it's just going to be the path to your suppressor in your folder. And then you're going to take the name of the P3D and stick it up here, proxy, and then P3D name. And that's going to be that for the slot. And then you're going to make sure that you have the same name of the slot under your inventory slot of the suppressor and in the attachments of your gun. And then that will make so that suppressor attaches to your gun and no other suppressor. It'll have its own suppressor. After that, you just go through your gun config. Make sure you can adjust how you want, like the weight, item size, your barrel armor, ammo types, hidden selection. Make sure you have the selection from your P3D. Your sounds. So this has a custom sound. I went over this in my weapons part 2 tutorial on how to do this stuff. So that's all here, but you just pretty much just do this config, add your sounds as make sure they're OGG files, get them pathed. And this one here, because this original gun had a built-in suppressor I had, so now I have to actually change that. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go and get another gun that I did and change the config so it could do loud and suppressed. So I just did update that real quick. And this way you'll just see, this way you'll be able to see me change it and refresh yourselves on sounds. So I added this part of my config for the sounds. Now I'm going to get the path to my OGG, which is in my done folder. So I would select just the beginning part, and then I would hit edit, replace, paste it, and then all. And now it just changed the path for all of them. So I don't have to go through and individually change it. Now I'm going to get the sounds. So, whoops, wrong screen. I want my close first. Far. Fars go down here. Mid will be in the middle. There we go. Now, if you had a suppressed sound, which I do not in here, I could get one though. Let's just get one here. I'll just take one from this. Silenced. We'll just use those. I'm not going to change the name on them just because it's just to save time. Well, I'll change the name. Screw it. M24 A3. Change the name just so it's a little easier for you guys. So now you'd want silenced and loud shot sounds. So now we have that. I can add it to this one. So close, mid, and far. There we go. Now our sounds are pathed for loud and silenced. Now we're going to change the class name. So I'm going to call it M24A3. And then I'm going to make sure, so we got close, mid, and distance. Same for your suppressed sound, silence shot, mid, silence distance. Now we're going to go to our sound set. For the top one, this is your loud one. You're going to want the class name, each of these class names. So you're going to want the first one, your close shot, goes in the first. Mid will go in the second. And far, distant will be the last. And then set your class name for that sound set. Same for the suppressor sound set. You're going to want your close, your mid, and your distance. And then set your class name. Once you have that, you're going to take your sound set for the loud shot, bring it up to the sounds of your gun, and you're going to just change the first one, leaving the other ones. Now, since this one here I had it set originally when I first made this gun to a built-in suppressor. I will change that now. So much for my little neatness here. I had this set up so it'd be a little more organized, but we'll change the sound set. So let's just do that real quick. I'm gonna just take the time here to organize this like I did in the other file. So we'll just get this lined up the way I did. Okay. That should be all right. And that would be the full sound. I hate it when it does that. There we go. Take that line, and then I'll replace it right here and get rid of that here because I have it up there. My fingers didn't want to work right there. That's pain in the ass, but there we go. That's what we want it to look like. So now we have that. I can make sure we have the correct class name. So for allowed, again, go to your sound sets down here. Get the first class, that's going to be allowed. Just change the first one. Keep in Winchester tail and Winchester interior tail sound set the same. And now you're going to do the same for the second one for your suppressed. So you go to your silent sound set. Set that class name on the first one. Keep in Winchester Silence Home and Winchester Silence Home made tail sound set. You're going to keep those the same. Now that the sound's set up, like every other done in the past, set your RV mats up to it. Get your class name for your main gun. That way you have your class, your base, just like before. And then that's going to be it for the config. Now that the config is all done, you're going to see in this folder, there's a scripts folder for world animations. Now in this folder, you'll have a basic animations folder, and it has this, in this case it's set for the Winchester animation because we are sized it and placed it as a Winchester. Now you just stick your base class in there. So you're just going to want your base class, and then you're going to put that, your base class there, leaving the, and I'm going to show you how to find, you just follow the paths. So if you're doing a different type of gun, and say you want the animations of another gun, like a M4 or something, you just see the path where it brings you to these animations, so you just follow it. So that one says DayZ, so you go to DayZ, then it says anims, so you go to anims, then word spaces, player, and you see player main, then it says weapons, and then you look for it. So that one is the ASI for the player main Winchester 70. So you look for it. Player main, look for Winchester 70, there it is, and then you you get the path. That's all it is. And then you replace it, and then you add your class. So that's that. And you just see that it has all the other duns here: repeater, SJS, ATMs, M4. It's all in there. And then you do the same thing for the second one, which is P behavior. So you just go to DayZ anims A&M player IK weapons, and then get the gun A&M that you want. And then the third, just follow the path just like the other two until you get the states A&M that you want. And you will find it just by following the path. And you can have multiple. So all you really have to do is, if you're adding another gun, just copy this whole line, paste it below it, add the base class to your second gun, and then get the animations the way I just showed you and change them out. And then that's how you do multiple guns in one script for that. Once you're done, you save it. I call it animations, and make sure it's in your scripts for world. Scripts for world. And then animations. And then inside there, you're going to have a folder called weapons. And inside there, you're going to have a script with your gun name. So this one I just put M24. Now I have this set. I took it from the Winchester. So it's set with the Winchester recoil. I gave it my base class name. This is, you can also find these in your P drive in the scripts folder for world, entities, firearms, rifle, and then here we go. Just open that up. You'll see theirs has a few other things, but you're just going to want this top part here, as you just see what I did, and I just closed it off. And then that's the scripting part. So you'll see in the folder, you're going to have a main config too underneath your scripts folder, which is your CFG mods config. So you're going to have the top part, CFG patches, just like that, empty though. And this is all going to be the same exact name of the folder. So sample rifle, you want it to be the same name. And then credits, go to whatever, or author name. So just make sure it looks like that, the same exact name. That will call on your scripts. And then that's it. Your gun will be all done. Your suppressor will be made. And you can just add more to it just by creating a new folder inside your mod. You go to your data. Underneath the ones you've already made, just create a new folder. Call it whatever gun you want. Inside there, a data folder, just like the other. And just keep building onto it. And then you'll have like a whole weapons bat. But that's pretty much it. Once you have that all done, you patch it. Now, I like to use materials. You guys haven't talked about it before. Pbo Project. And I always delete my temp files. Also make sure you have this set in both. It's the same on top and bottom. And then warnings are errors. I always untick warnings are errors. And if you look at mine, you can see I have a lot of these unticked or ticked. So I'll leave this. You can pause here and kind of compare what I have. I will put this line here in the description. You just take this and have it in both. It's the same exact thing. So just copy it from my description and paste it in both these. And then that's it. Now, once you have that set up, just crunch it and wait for it to pack. And you got the sound. And then what's left is you test it, and then you put it on your servers or publish it in your games, your mods. And then that's it. So I will load in my test server now, get that loading up, and we'll quickly test this and see how it goes. All right, now that we are in testing, we spawn in our gun. So I'm gonna spawn in the gun at my feet or in inventory, wherever you want. I'm gonna grab some ammo. And I'm going to grab the suppressor that we made, which is right here. And I'm going to also grab the hunting scope. So I'm just going to type in optics. And you're going to grab a hunting, ACOG, grab a reflex and a hunting. I'm going to grab a 9-volt battery, just because reflex. And now we're going to test it out. So you're going to put the gun in your hands, make sure it sits the way you want. Iron sight, make sure everything's working right. See how the bolt's working? Make sure everything's working. And then you're going to add, that's your optics. So you're going to add an ACOG. There we go. It's working. Placement looks good. Happy with it. Take off your that. Put on the next. There we go. Looks good. Now, these type of optics obviously aren't really proper for this type of gun, but it's nice to have, I guess. Put on your hunting optic. Make sure it's centered on the barrel. It is. It's pretty nice. Add your suppressor. There we go. Custom suppressor on the custom slot. It's showing up. It looks good. Do a little inspect on it. Looks good. Now we're gonna test it. Load it with your ammo. Make sure that looks right. Yep. Now it's loaded. And you fire it. There's the suppress sound. Take off the suppressor. And there's the custom loud sound. And then that's it. Now you can, don't judge me. I suck at sniping. Now you can test without, if you hold your breath. Yeah, I suck at sniping, but I don't play that often. I'm always busy doing projects and all this other shit. But yeah, I saw a hit and it killed him. Yep. So I don't play that often. Also, you're gonna want to do real quick. I do this with everything that I make. I just throw it. Make sure it doesn't fall through the world. Pick it up, and if it goes well and you don't crash, then everything's right. If your game crashes, it's mostly probably an error in your model config. And that's it. So it's pretty much just like all my other weapons tutorials. The only difference is it's a little more proper. The correct way. I missed a couple things, like showing you putting the proxies in the fire geometry log, making the fire geometry boxes snug around the model, and then I showed you setting up the custom slots for the suppressor, which is the same way of making any custom slot. And I showed you that, and then I showed you how to script it. So that's the only thing different from my other weapons tutorials. This way is the more proper way of making a custom gun. But yeah, no, that's everything. Once you're happy with it, send it, publish it. and you're good to go. And if you have any questions, link to my Discord is below. And make sure you like, share, subscribe, blah, 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 all that crap. Until next time, I'll see you in the next one. Peace!